Deborah had to have surgery.
I had hip surgery in November of 2024.
Her United Healthcare nurse, Crystal, checked on her.
We do a routine call after surgery, and I could tell that she was struggling.
Deborah needed help.
My infection markers were through the roof.
And Crystal knew what to do.
I called the hospital and said she's coming in.
And got Deborah the help she needed.
Crystal and United Healthcare saved my life.
Hear more stories like Deborah's at uhc.com. Benefits, features, and/or devices vary by plan area. Limitation and exclusions apply.
What is Cafe Mocha? Cafe Mocha is experts, celebrities.
What's up? This is Belle Biv DeVoe.
Yours truly, Idris Elba.
This is Fantasia.
This is In Vogue.
This is India Ari.
So much more. All from a woman's perspective.
What flavor are you, baby?
This is Cafe Mocha.
Cafe Mocha celebrating 15 years of uplifting and entertaining our community with Loni Love. Yo, I'm Angelique. This week, Loni Love has a one-on-one conversation with journalist and political talk show host Joy Reid.
Did y'all hear about this podcast that the former MLB baseball player David Justice, who was the ex-husband of Halle Berry, he got on this podcast and he basically said one of the reasons he and Halle Berry divorced, she doesn't cook, she doesn't clean, she doesn't really seem motherly. Now, they were married in 1993 and they divorced in 1997.
Okay.
And this was like 30 years ago.
What? Okay. What was Halle's response? Or did she?
Well,
she was on Instagram with some wine between her toes. Wine glass between her toes, laid back, showing them beautiful Leo legs of hers. Oh, good.
Beautiful. She's like, ooh, I don't cook and I don't clean. So she gave a cheeky response. But I think a lot of people, first of all, you got to remember back in 93 to 97, Halle Berry she's our first Black actress, best Oscar actress. She did about, I would say, roughly 7 movies in between that time. And just a reminder for people, when you're doing movies, you are working anywhere between 8 weeks to 6 months.
And usually somewhere other than your home state.
Somewhere in your own state and long hours.
It's women who work 9 to 5s who looking at their husband like, dude, get it yourself. Like, you keep asking me what we eating. What are we eating?
Well, when you were dating her, you didn't ask if she was cooking?
People don't. But you know what? Women have really, and especially in the 90s, women really started giving us a little bit more advantage. What leading ladies, like she was the first. There was a lot of first women around this time. I just think that the expectations, and then 30 years later, you want to talk about she didn't cook, she didn't clean. Man, you had the baddest woman on the damn block. Like, why are boys on these podcasts talking about the women they had? Like, damn, where's your woman today? She wants you talking about what you had 30 years ago. And
yeah, it's like, put it down, dude. Put it down.
What are you talking about? Like, dude, come on.
But the other thing is that, I mean, she's a career woman. What part of him thought she was going to cook and clean and put down her career? I mean, that's ridiculous. Are you going to put down your baseball and your bat because you got married?
He wanted a casserole. Okay.
Well, you know what?
He didn't want Catwoman. He wanted a casserole.
He should have married a woman who knew how to do a casserole and ain't had nothing better to do than a casserole.
I will say this, though. He did say nice things about her. The issue is this. These podcasts are going to get a lot of people in trouble because they take a clip of the podcast and they take the clip because they want you to listen to the whole thing. But it's just like having a headline, and this is it's just a bad look. Like, you shouldn't be talking about her because he should have been a gentleman and he should have said, it was no reason even to bring her up. Like Yo-Yo said, it's been 30 years ago. You married to somebody else. She has kids, so she is a mother. She could have answered all kind of ways. But, my whole point is, people need to be careful when they're on podcasts because the podcast producers, all they care about is trying to take out a piece of the clip, and then you get talked about. And I know that because it recently happened to me.
I was just going to bring that up. I know you don't want to talk about it, Loni. I know you don't want to talk about it, and you don't have to talk about it. But when
I didn't hear it.
I saw, well, what had happened was.
What had happened?
Okay, so there was a podcast that two reality show ladies were doing their thing on. And I don't know if Loni was specifically asked about, but one of the reality show ladies just started talking and really insulting Loni and bringing up stuff from 10, 15 years ago that she should have put down a long time ago. And it's really embarrassing. But the big thing of it is that, number one, put down your old stuff, David Justice and all these other people. And number two, if you're going to be on a podcast talking a bunch of junk, you need to know what you're talking about, and you need to at least be honest, because there is a such thing as suing people for defamation, for slander, for all kinds of things.
And that's what people have to be careful of. That's the issue that we have with these podcasts. Even with our radio show, there are certain things we can't say because it's called standards and practices. But on these podcasts, because there are no standards and practices, and there's this desperation of trying to get listeners, people are saying whatever they want to say. But what happens is people are now starting to go to court. The same thing happened with Cardi B and Tasha K, where Cardi B actually won a $4 million judgment against Tasha K because she was, saying devastating things.
And Tasha K broke. She can't even afford that.
That's not the point.
But the point is she stopped talking about Cardi B though.
But what was some of the stuff she said?
I mean, she had allegations of her health and talking about STDs and I'm like, first of all, when it comes to me, see, Cardi B is different because Cardi B will go back and forth. I don't use my platform for that. The only time I've talked about this whole situation with that podcast that I was talked about was on Watch What Happens Live. And it was a quick 45 seconds. I don't use my platform to insult Black women or any woman. If you don't like me, you don't like me. But I am not going to use my platform to insult another woman. And I just don't do that. My platform, I use it to entertain, inform, and inspire. But I don't use it to go back and forth and beefing. That's why, you could check the history. People have said things about me and whatever, and everybody runs to the page because, you can look at tail, the people... your numbers be up and people want to see if you done said something and the blogs want to see if you want to say something. That's just not my thing.
It's Cafe Mocha. We're talking about the state of podcasts these days. The conversation continues.
Standing in solidarity from a woman's perspective. It's Cafe Mocha.
It's Cafe Mocha. Loni Love. Yo, I'm Angelique. Loni's all on fire about the state of podcasts these days.
Let me just tell you something. What I've learned over this social media podcast kind of thing, people getting on men, talking more than women. I mean, in women, they say, oh, well, didn't you know men gossiped more than women back in the days? I said, never. I never knew men to be such gossipers. But nowadays, men are doing more podcasts talking about their past lovers, their past lives. They're telling more love stories than women ever had a chance to tell. And another thing, I think that even when it comes to church and people doing praise reports and all of this, people are really gearing to the negative side of the praise. They're not even gearing themselves to the positive side of anything. And so it's just, some people, it's not where you're from, it's where you at. And their minds haven't grown. When people know better, they do better. And that's just growth in life. Some people will stay the same no matter what. You can leave and go out of town for 10 years, come back. These people still have the same conversation. You just have to keep growing. I just hope to grow away from people like that.
But the thing I will say, even in my case, of what happened to me, it was a clip, just like what happened with Hallie. There was a clip put up. And I have to commend the fans, because this is now not for me. This is not 2015 anymore. It's 2025. People see my work. People see the effort that I put in for the past 10 years, and they were not having it. And times are changing with body shaming people or making women feel like they gotta, you ain't this or you not a wife and all of that. People are getting hip, and they're getting smart, and they're talking back to it. So a lot of times you don't even have to say anything, because the fan base is gonna say something. And people, go, no, we're not going for that. And so, I think everything has a reason, but y'all watch these podcasts, because these podcasts, everybody's just gearing for money. And speaking about that, even like with the whole Shannon Sharp situation, when Shannon Sharp initially had that interview with Cat Williams, what people forget is that, people go and say, well, Cat told him this and Cat told him that. I just think that all that happened with Shannon was retribution for everything that he allowed Cat to say about other people. He talked about all these other comedians, and it was like, it's no fact checking.
Mm-hmm.
You don't know if it's true.
Mm-hmm.
And people just ran with it because they just like, okay. And you got to understand, these men, the men that Cat was talking about, they've been working comedy for years. How, you saying all this stuff with no type of receipts, and making accusations, and people just turn right around and believe it. And that's because there was no standards and practices. So Shannon Sharp allowed it to happen, no standards and practices. And now look at what happened to him.
What the lady sued him?
Happened. The one woman that he was having relations with ended up suing him. And it's being reported that Shannon Sharp had to pay $23 million to her. He paid her so much money. She used to be an OnlyFans girl. She was able to say, I retired. I have retired.
Mm-hmm.
And so, again, and this is the thing about the podcast situation. He had that lawsuit. He has a podcast with him and Ocho Cinco. And, there was this situation where Usher was doing the cherries with this woman. And the woman was really like, the eating the cherries and all sexual and everything with it. So there was this rumor that the woman was married. And Shannon Sharp and Ocho Cinco got on their podcast and said that this woman was married and the husband's divorcing her and all, making up all this stuff. The woman was never married. And the woman sat there and she was like, they're ruining my, reputation, because at my job, I'm getting these, I'm getting this issue with the jobs and everything. And so she ended up suing Shannon Sharp's podcast and Ocho Cinco. And they ended up doing a settlement, because she said, and this is the thing, the sister said, all I wanted was for them to stop saying that and apologize. They didn't want to do that. So that's why she sued. So this is the thing that, like, I tell anybody with these podcasts, you got to know what you're talking about and stop making up stuff just to be, just to try to, be dramatic and get people to listen to your podcast, because you're trying to actually try to ruin people's lives. It's not like you're at a Coldplay concert and we actually see you with somebody that's not your wife. That's different. But, it is what it is. So, ladies, that is my soapbox about podcasts. Thank you for my TED Talk.
Thank you, Loni.
Thank you for listening to my TED Talk.
Right. Men stay off of podcasts.
It's Cafe Mocha.
And coming up next, Lonnie Love sits down with political talk show host Joy Reid.
It's Cafe Mocha with Lonnie Love, Yo-Yo, and our producer Angelique on the line. She is an award-winning journalist and best-selling author. She launched her new show, The Joy Reid Show, to continue using her platform, influence, and voice to cover issues, especially the ones that mainstream media will ignore. Please welcome, for the first time to Cafe Mocha, Joy Reid. Hi, Joy.
Hey, Lonnie. How are you?
I am doing excellent. And you are definitely the person that our listeners love and need to hear from. I guess just going out the gate, the first question I want to ask is, how are you feeling politically and what's going on with our country?
I think it's pretty bad. I think it's pretty clear that we're in trouble. Our democracy is in trouble. The Republican Party has agreed with Trump that they're going to dismantle everything. Everything we gained in the 21st century is being dismantled, piece by piece. And Project 2025, I think at this point it's about 55% implemented. By the time they get to 100%, we won't be a democracy. So it's definitely a 911 moment.
And so now that it is this 911 moment, I'm just, for the regular listeners, what is it, Joy, that we can do to, join organizations, protests? In your opinion, what is it that we can do to try to speak out about what's going on in our country?
I think people are doing, the range of everything, right? I think the protests in the streets, you'll notice we are not there. As Black folks, we're really not
right.
showing up to that. That's mostly the white people. But I think that's appropriate. They're the one whose demographic voted for this. They're the ones who chose it, not themselves necessarily the ones in the streets, but it's their cousins, uncles, brothers, fathers. They're voted for it. We as Black women, we voted 92% the other way. We voted, please don't do this. And our, African-American men voted 80-20, please don't do this. So I think it is appropriate that it's white America that's in the streets. They need to put their bodies on the line because they won't get brutalized the way we will. They can actually yell at the police. They can challenge the police. And so I think it's good to see them challenging ICE when ICE shows up to take someone. I like seeing white Americans step forward, use their privilege, and challenge the police. I like seeing them in the streets marching. It's their turn. What African Americans, what Black folks we've been doing is really focusing on trying to protect our communities. And that's what we need to be doing, making sure that we're shoring up our Black colleges, make sure they have enough money to operate if the Department of Education tries to defund them, making sure our students have enough money to stay in school if their scholarships are deleted because the scholarship was based on them being Black students. Anything Black is under fire. Making sure that we're shoring up our own political leaders, right? Making sure that we're, if you're in a redistricted district like they are in Texas, now you really need to come out and vote to try to protect those seats and make sure that they're not stolen by Republicans who are gaming the system and gerrymandering these seats in Texas and Missouri. We're going to talk today on the podcast with 3 Missouri representatives with the same thing in Texas is happening to them. So we need to be in self-protection mode. If you're a doctor, you need to be thinking about how can I volunteer to provide medical services to Black folks who are going to lose Medicaid, or even if you are not in the Black community, poor folks who are going to lose Medicaid. So we're having to do everything to self-protect right now. And then we're seeing other communities do activism. For our Latino brothers and sisters, immigration lawyers need to be on point, protecting people from being deported, sent to foreign prisons, detained for weeks and weeks at a time. Lawyers are needing to step up and volunteer. This is like every hand on deck right now because there's so many needs. It's just hard to even put it. I could go on for another hour about what the needs are, but we have to everybody do something that's in your power.
It's Cafe Mocha on the line, award-winning journalist Joy Reid. Joy, what is your take on the Democratic Party's strategy heading into this next election?
I think the Democrats are not ready for this moment. I think that they still are trying to do politics and believing that politics still exists and that they can just react to this politically. I don't think their message has been updated for the times we live in. Unfortunately, I think there are a lot of really great Democrats. Jasmine Crockett, phenomenal. Al Green, phenomenal. There are some great Democrats. Ayanna Pressley, Summer Lee. We're seeing the ones who get it step up. I think AOC is good. but not enough of the leadership understands. I think, unfortunately, the leadership is behind the times. They think this is still just, we'll just fight in the next midterm. We're not going to have a free and fair election in 2026. So we need to be thinking about that. You know, Trump is already gaming the next midterm. He's he's one step ahead of them. And, you know, deploying the military into our streets in key Democratic-led cities, particularly cities led by Black mayors. Note that the deployments are scheduled to go through November. And there's a reason they still want the military and federalized police on our streets in November, because there's an election this November. And this is a test run, I think, for next November to have a full military deployment on our streets when people are voting. So it ain't good. And I don't think the Democrats really have caught up on what's happening.
Definitely. The thing that we love about you, Joy, is that you're using your platform and you're continuing to use your platform to speak out, to give us the analysis that we need. You're also the co-host of the Read This, Read That podcast with my girl, Jackie Reed. I love you both. Can you tell us a little bit about that podcast and why is it such a great platform for you?
Well, you know, in all these times, all that I just gave you was the bad news, you know, but we, you know, have a history in this country of dealing with this and far worse. Obviously, far worse. Our people have been through hell in this country, in the Caribbean, in Africa, you know, the diasporal community, we've been through it. And we know that we don't just respond with fear, we respond with action and with joy. And so what we do on Read This, Read That, my sword sister, cousin, friend, Jackie Reed, we are play cousins. We've been friends for over a decade. We've, you know, been ride or die for a really long time. So we got together and we did this podcast many, many years ago. And we started it really just as stress relief and a girlfriend time for ourselves. And it's expanded to what we call the Cousin Nation. So the folks who listen to Read This, Read That, we all consider ourselves to be cousins in, you know, in the community. And we just use it to wind down. We use it to just be, you know, relax, let our hair down, even though I don't have any hair anymore. We just let our hair down, talk girl stuff, talk entertainment. We do give people what you need to know. We try to stay up on what's happening in the news, but also just talk fun stuff. You know what I mean? Sometimes we just need a moment. We need to have a cocktail and just be us and just be girlfriends and have fun. So we use that as our safe space where we can actually just chill and relax. And so Read This, Read That is a lot of fun. It's every Thursday. It's on YouTube. We also have a Substack. And so we try to just keep it light. It's our little fun podcast, wherever you get your podcasts.
Well, then that's something that we actually need. This is Cafe Mocha. We're talking to Joy Reid. She also has a new show called The Joy Reid Show, and that's a little more serious, right?
It's a lot more serious, yeah. So 3 days a week on The Joy Reid Show, which you can find on YouTube at thejoyreidshow.com. It's also on Substack. We live stream it both to YouTube and Substack. And The Joy Reid Show is more like what I did at what it used to be called MSNBC. It's now Ms. Now. They've changed their name, which I don't understand that, but okay, the Ms. Now. But when I was working there on MSNBC, I tried to give people, this is the news straight, no chaser. But now it's even straighter, no chaser, you know, because I'm not now bound by the corporate governance of a corporate environment. It's just me and our little team trying to give y'all what you need to know. We cover the news, we cover the Trump regime, we cover the Epstein files, we cover all the things, Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays. And then Fridays, we just go live and talk to the chat and try to get a little bit of, you know, lighter topics when we can, but we really are covering the serious issues that are happening in the country today.
More with Loni Love and Joy Reid coming up on Cafe Mocha.
We're at Cafe Mocha Radio. Socially savvy on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. Serving up more Cafe Mocha on the way. Standing in solidarity from a woman's perspective. It's Cafe Mocha.
It's Cafe Mocha. Loni Love is one-on-one with talk show host Joy Reid. Let's jump back into it.
I mean, do you realize it's like maybe you, Roland Martin, every now and then the Breakfast Club. I mean, you all are the only people that is really helping the culture and the community understand what's going on. Do you feel a responsibility for that?
Absolutely. And, you know, Don and Uncle Roland, like we all, I think, feel the same way, is that, you know, our community is in jeopardy. When, you know, America catches a cold, Black folks get pneumonia, right? Everything that they want to do to this country, they want to do mainly to us. You know, the whole anti-DEI thing yeah, white women are the main recipients of DEI, but they're really focusing on Black women and on Black people. 300,000 Black women have lost jobs just since January. They're deliberately removing us from positions of power. Lisa Cook from the Fed, they're going after her for no reason. They're going after Letitia James. We just actually interviewed her for the show. They're going after us. They're going after our cities, the places where our people are mayors. And so Don and Roland, I think all of us feel the same way. We have a special responsibility to inform our community. The worst thing we can do is check out completely. Yes, we need we need to do our fan dance and we need to get boots on the ground and relax and let our hair down, but we also need to be informed. And so I think it's really, really important that we not check out. This is not the time to do that. We need to super inform ourselves because this nightmare is going to hit us hardest, because they're not just trying to dismantle the 21st century. They're dismantling the things we gained. They're especially angry that Black folks achieved something close to equality, and they want to go back to a world where we are not equal. So if we stand back and let them do it, that's on us.
What do you say to that person, Joy, that's afraid? Because a lot of people, I think, are afraid to speak up or afraid to move, or they think it'll, like you said, they just won't do anything. What do you say to that person?
I mean, I would say that, if you have a good reason to be afraid, if you're not crazy to be afraid, that's not crazy. And unfortunately, I'm Gen X. We weren't raised by our, boomer parents to be prepared to fight another civil rights movement. I think that generation convinced themselves that we wouldn't have to. So unfortunately, we're having to learn skills that we didn't have. But our ancestors built us for this, even though we were not trained for it. And, the people who came before us were even more afraid than we are. We have far more resources technologically. We are able to communicate with one another in a lot more direct way. We don't have to secretly meet in churches, even though we may have to go back to that. But we have all these resources and we have all these tools that our ancestors didn't have. Just unfortunately, because America is always Americaning, we're going to have to refight some of these fights. And so it's fine to be afraid. It means that you're aware. It means you're staying woke. So there's nothing wrong with being afraid, but fear is not an excuse for doing nothing. We still have to act, because I'm sure our ancestors were terrified, but they still had to take action.
And, like you mentioned, over 300,000 Black women have lost their jobs. And you are a woman that, publicly lost a huge job, but you were able to recover. Is there any advice you want to give to these women that are probably going through the ups and downs of a job loss?
I would say the first thing you have to do is let yourself feel your feelings. You're probably feeling in shock. You're probably feeling angry. You're probably feeling sad, down, depressed. All that is normal. And you should allow yourself to feel that. But while you're doing that, to me, before the firing happens, start making a plan for what you're going to do in your next career. Because we always have, I'm one of those, I'm Gen X, so even though we weren't built for civil rights movement, we always had 10 jobs. So we always had a backup job and a backup to the backup job. So I've always had an entrepreneurial mindset of saying, well, what else am I going to do? Even when I was working at Ms. Now, I was also writing books. I was also writing columns. I was always keeping my extra skill sets up so that I wasn't wholly dependent. I was teaching classes at Syracuse or at Howard. We always have to be prepared to stick and move. This is America. It wasn't built for us. It was built by us, and we've had to seize everything we have. So be prepared at any moment to have to do you and do something else. That's number one, so you're not always in shock. But then if it happens to you and you're just out here, just remember who you are. Remember what you are and how you gained what you had. It's because you're great. It's because of your greatness. It's because of your skills. It's why they feared you. It's why they wanted to remove you. And keep that in mind as you look for your next thing. You are already great. You were great, and they let you go because you were too great for them. So don't let it get you down forever. Let it get you down in the moment, feel your feelings, and then stand up, straighten your back, and move on and do what Black women do, survive.
Perfect. And before we let you go, you are the executive producer of a documentary with your husband titled When Everyone Swims. I saw the trailer. I think this is just wonderful. Can you tell us a little bit about it?
Yeah, one of my other things we were always doing, we have a production company, Jason and myself, which is the production company that actually produces the Joy Reid Show. And one of the things that we were doing, even when I was at my other job, is executive producing projects that we cared about. So we could lend, our name, to it to try to help the projects go forward. And Gerald Harkness, who's our dear friend, he and Adrienne Lopez produced this incredible film. He also directed it. Gerald also directed it. And it's about a thing that is so important and is actually so kind of terrifying to a lot of us, including me. I'm terrified of deep water. And so a lot of us in the Black community can't swim. And some of it is because of fear. Some of it is history. Pools were not admitting Black people. They wouldn't even let us swim there. So a lot of young Black people don't learn to swim, or we live near the ocean but never travel to it because of limitations on public transportation. I mean, I lived in South Florida, and we met kids, when I was doing voluntary work, that kids who would, live 10 miles from the ocean and never been there. And then on top of it, there's also a stereotype that we can't swim or don't want to swim, but that's not true either. So we, in this film, When Everyone Swims, range everything from the discrimination against Black young people who want to swim to Black swimmers who are champions, Olympic champions, world champions. And then just the question in America writ large, even outside of our community, about swimming. And it's really important because drowning used to be the number one killer of children in America until it was replaced by mass shootings.
The title of the documentary is When Everyone Swims. It will premiere at Howard University on October the 3rd during their annual Battle at the Burr Swim Meet. We have been talking to Joy Reid. Please follow Joy Reid on all of her socials, or you can also follow her on her website, sign up, subscribe to her Substack. It's joyandreid.com. And thank you so much for your time, Joy. And thank you for all the work that you're doing to help keep us informed and keep us motivated. We love you, sis.
Love you, Loni Love. Thank you so much. I appreciate you having me on, and God bless you. We're gonna win. We're gonna make it. We're gonna be all right.
We will. Thank you, Joy.
Okay, sis. Take care.
Take care.
Loni Love with Joy Reid. You can check out The Joy Reid Show on YouTube. To hear the full conversation with Loni Love and talk show host Joy Reid, you have to check out the podcast. Go to mochapodcastnetwork.com or go to wherever you listen to podcasts, type in Cafe Mocha Radio and click subscribe. This is Cafe Mocha.
Here's your dose of espresso. Strong, hot news now.
This is the Espresso. By now, I'm sure you've seen the drawing and poem Donald Trump allegedly wrote to convicted pedophile Jeffrey Epstein. The response has been deny, deny, deny.
Now they're trying to claim that he never signed it. It wasn't there. This note was part of a book that was created 22 years ago. Are we saying that they went back in time 22 years and 22 years ago, they had reason to believe that Donald Trump would be president and that we were going to someone is going to forge this?
And you know how we complain about racial profiling? The Supreme Court announced it's perfectly legal.
The government often, when they do horribly racist things, they're trying to say actually, we're not being this racist because of that. Actually, it's not as bad as it looks. This time, the government was straight up, no. We are racially profiling Latinos in Los Angeles.
Kindred the Family Soul just announced the title of their new album, and guess who helped them come up with the name?
I was just thinking. Now y'all got me thinking.
The Grand Life.
The Grand Life.
The Grand Life. Yes.
Double meaning. That's the Espresso.
This is Cafe Mocha. Radio from a woman's perspective.
It's Cafe Mocha with Loni Love, Yo-Yo. I'm the producer, Angelique. Back in June, we talked to Kindred the Family Soul. They talked about their upcoming album, which at the time was untitled, and life as grandparents. Let's get into it.
We don't have duos anymore. You all.
No.
I mean, it's like, y'all all we got left. That's it. That's
well,
it.
yeah, I mean, groups, coming up in the 90s, girl groups and guy groups, that they had a resurgence, and it was like a real thing for us coming up, and so being a group, being a duo felt like, okay, yeah, we could do this. But to be honest, when we first got started, it wasn't that many. So, and the only group that people would ever compare us to was Ashford and Simpson, which was a honor. But also, they hadn't released music since we were kids.
Right.
So there was So there was, a feeling that there's always been like a void there with it since we got started. So we're grateful to have been in that place and been able to occupy that space with just a handful of other groups. But as the years have gone on, we've seen a few other people do it. They've been amazing. And, it's just been good to see people embrace something that they don't get to see an awful lot. We never really felt like, people weren't open to it. There were times we may have felt a little pigeonholed, but, just in terms of people's, version of us that they wanted. But it's been a great experience. And there are a lot more duos now. I will say that.
Yeah, we got the Baylor Project. We got Avery Sunshine and her husband, who, even though they're not necessarily a duo, they do work together and do it together. And quite a few others that, whose names might escape me at this very moment, but we don't run the lane per se. You know what I mean? We're just one of the many who love one another and get an opportunity to do what we love together. And so for that, we're just grateful.
Yeah. I mean, the thing is, we're at this great place. Like I said earlier, the 40s and 50s is an amazing place to be in because you kind of do the work you want to do. Mm-hmm. And we've been kind of really blessed to be able to travel and tour and do all the things we've been doing now for 20 plus years. And so we've been able to make records like that too. And so we are in the middle of recording this album, and it is our hope to have it done by the end of summer. And that's the prayer. But we're just really into like taking our time and making y'all some really good music and just enjoying this season of our lives where we can kind of do it the way we want to.
There's no rush, and we just want to make sure that it's right before we release it. I feel really, really good about it and hope that, it really resonates.
Okay, I need it. So can you do a rush a little bit?
You need it. Yes, we're trying to get it together for you, Loni. We want you to have some date night music. You know that.
Exactly. That's something.
And the new name of Kindred the Family Soul's album is Grand Life. I'm pretty sure they offered us free tickets or something like that. We'll be in touch, guys.
Want a little more of our flavor? Stay right there. It's Cafe Mocha.
It's Cafe Mocha. Back in June when we talked to Kindred the Family Soul, their new album didn't have a title yet, but we all brainstormed and we're going to take a little credit for the album title that they came up with.
The country is going through a lot, and I think that music can really help all of us. What are your thoughts on, or your advice for people that might be going through something and struggling?
Well, I think the best thing that you can do is to find that joy space. Because I have a good friend who talks about the difference between happiness and joy. And, the happiness is kind of fleeting, but joy is like eternal. You know what I'm saying? Joy is that thing that no one can kind of take from you. Mm-hmm. And if you can be kind of anchored in that, and certainly anchored in faith, but I think that joy is such a specific thing, that no one can take from you. And if you're anchored in that, I think in these particular times where so many things that we thought were institutions and so many spaces that we thought, folks have fought hard to kind of create would not, be up on the chopping block. And as we watch some of that happen, then it poses the question, what is it that we have that cannot be taken? So I would say, that creating and thinking about it from that space, asking yourself that and surrounding yourself with those kinds of things, those types of people, those kinds of relationships, those types of things that, will keep you together. And I have to say for us, music and making music is a part of that kind of joy for us as well. So, but it's different for everyone. But, that's kind of where our heads are. And then at our shows, we always say this at the end of our shows. We always sing together. We always try to remember and encourage people to remember what it feels like to be in a room full of people where that no matter where you come from, no matter how different the person is sitting next to you is, that if you're at a Kindred show, then you believe that love transforms all things.
And so we always tell people, before we leave, let's put a seal on this feeling so that when we go out into the world that, we take that belief with us.
No matter who's in authority, God is always in control, and He has us. He has us. And we have to lean into that. We always have to remember that. And we have to know that, no matter what we're going through, that we can survive it. We will be okay. And we just have to continue to believe, have faith, and, like she said, find that joy space, continue to tap into that, continue to tap into your prayers and looking for the positive in everything, because there is something positive in every experience that we have and that we have to go through and that we need to learn. And God won't place any burdens on us that we can't bear. And we have to believe that, and we have to know that. And we just testaments to it. And we got to continue to be grateful and show gratitude to one another and love and respect and honor.
Kindred, the family soul, thank you so much for joining us. Come back anytime.
Anytime.
We'll be back tomorrow.
We would love to.
Okay.
Love y'all.
Love you too.
Love
Thanks,
y'all.
guys. Appreciate y'all.
See y'all later. Take care.
Bye-bye.
Just a reminder, if you want to hear the full conversation with Joy Reid, or you want to flash back to that interview with Earthquake or Shamia Moore from Real Housewives, all you have to do is subscribe to the podcast. Go to wherever you listen to podcasts, type in Cafe Mocha Radio, and click subscribe. Until next time, you can find us on all platforms at Cafe Mocha Radio. Cafe Mocha is a production of Miles Ahead Broadcasting in partnership with Super Radio. Executive producer Sheila Eldridge. For comments, booking, or more information, visit cafemocharadio.com.